Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into a fascinating concept today, the 80-20 principle.
Ah, yeah,
The idea that 80% of our results come from just 20% of our efforts.
precisely.
We'll be exploring Richard Koch's book, The 80-20 Principle, to really dissect this
It's
idea.
a classic.
It really makes you think, can we really achieve more by doing less?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And what does that even look like in our daily lives?
Well, one of the most compelling aspects of Koch's argument is that this imbalance, this 80-20 split, it's not some weird fluke.
Oh, interesting.
He argues it's actually the natural order of things.
Okay, now that's a bit of a mind bender.
Right.
We're so used to hearing about balance.
Absolutely.
Balance in everything.
Finding that equilibrium.
Right. So how does this imbalance actually play out in the real world? Give us some examples.
Sure, think about something as basic as conversations.
Okay.
We use a surprisingly small number of words to get our point across.
That's true.
And it's the same with written language.
Huh. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, a small percentage of words make up the bulk of anything you read.
So it's not just about being more efficient at work.
No, not at all.
It's like a fundamental principle woven into how things actually work.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so to really illustrate this idea,
Yes.
Koch uses this fascinating example.
Oh, I love this one.
Goldfish in a pond.
Yes. Imagine a bunch of goldfish,
All right. Picturing it now.
all starting out pretty similar in size.
Peaceful pond, the school of goldfish, what happens?
Well, even tiny variations in size.
Yeah, okay.
They get amplified over time.
Really?
Yeah, the slightly bigger fish,
Mm-hmm.
they might be just a bit faster
Makes sense.
or better at getting food.
Ah, so they have a slight advantage.
Exactly. They get more nourishment, grow a bit more.
Interesting.
And that difference becomes more and more pronounced.
So it's like a snowball effect.
Yes. A feedback loop,
Wow.
leading to big size variations.
Even though they all started out.
Even if they started from a pretty even playing field. And this isn't just goldfish. Koch argues this applies to all sorts of natural phenomena.
Okay, but how does a pond full of goldfish relate to, say, my job?
That's where things get really interesting. Just like those goldfish, businesses often see this same principle playing out.
Ah, okay.
A small percentage of products or services often drive the majority of the profits.
It's like the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule.
Exactly.
Like 80% of sales come from 20% of customers.
That's the one.
I've heard of that.
And Koch delves into how this works in businesses.
Okay.
He found that in one electronics company,
Mm-hmm.
just 3 products out of their entire range
Wow.
accounted for over 50% of their profits.
So it's really about focusing on the vital few
Yes.
instead of trying to do it all.
Precisely.
I'm starting to see how powerful this could be.
Right.
It's a real game changer.
And we're just scratching the surface here.
There's more.
Oh, yes. The 80-20 principle can be applied to so many areas of business.
Like what?
Marketing, sales, product development, customer service, you name it.
Wow.
But what's even more fascinating is that it goes beyond business.
Wait, really?
It can be applied to our personal lives, too.
Hold on. So you're saying the same principle
Yes.
that governs goldfish growth and business profits
Mm-hmm.
can help me figure out my to-do list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll explore next, how to identify and focus on that crucial 20%
Okay,
in your own life,
that's good.
the things that bring the most results and happiness.
All right, so the 80-20 principle. It's not just some business jargon. It's a fundamental principle. It's everywhere from goldfish ponds to company profits. But let's get practical. How can we actually use this in our daily lives? Because let's be honest, my to-do list, it sometimes feels like a to-don't even bother list.
I hear you. It's so easy to get overwhelmed when you're constantly bombarded with tasks and demands. But that's exactly where the 80-20 principle shines. It's about realizing not all tasks are created equal. Instead of trying to do everything, what if you pinpoint that 20% of your work, the work that really moves the needle?
Okay, so focus on the stuff that really matters and let the rest slide. Sounds good in theory, but how do you actually figure out what that 20% is? Sometimes I can't even remember what day it is, let alone which tasks are the most important.
That's a great question. And it requires some introspection, a bit of analysis. Koch suggests a few things. First, take a good look at your work processes. Break them down. See where your time actually goes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you spending hours on tasks that, in the grand scheme of things, don't really contribute to your goals?
Oh, absolutely. I can think of a few right now that fit that description. But even if I find those time wasters, it's tough to just drop them completely. There are deadlines, expectations from my boss. It's complicated.
For sure, for sure. And I'm not saying throw everything out the window, abandon all responsibility. It's more about being strategic. Making conscious choices, maybe those less impactful tasks, they can be delegated, automated, or streamlined somehow.
Okay, I see how that could free up some mental space and time to focus on the important things. But let's say I've streamlined my workflow, delegated what I can. Then how do I prioritize among the remaining tasks? They all seem important.
Well, this is where we have to challenge our assumptions. We often think that every task is equally important, but if you really look closely, you'll probably find that some have a way bigger impact on your goals than others.
So it's not just about how urgent something seems, it's about the bigger picture.
You got it. It's about connecting daily tasks to your long-term goals. And here's a little trick Koch suggests. Think back the times when you felt super productive, when you were in the zone, really crushing it. Chances are the 80-20 principle was at work. You just weren't aware of it.
That's fascinating. I could think of times when I was in a flow state, just nailing my goals. Maybe it's not always about working harder, but about working smarter. Focusing on those high-impact tasks, the ones that match my strengths and priorities.
That's it. Now, we've talked about individual work, but the 80-20 principle really becomes powerful when you look at the bigger picture, like how whole businesses operate.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier with the electronics company. And those three super profitable products, how else does this apply to the business world?
Well, consider product lines. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, companies can streamline their offerings, focus on that 20% of products that make 80% of the revenue, really perfect those.
Makes sense. Less is more, right?
Yeah.
But wouldn't that shrink their customer base? What about those who might want the other 80% of products?
That's a fair point. But remember, the 80-20 principle, it's not about ditching the other 80% entirely. It's about prioritizing, knowing where the biggest impact is. Maybe those less profitable products can be streamlined, bundled, or even licensed to other companies.
Oh, I get it. So it's not about neglecting the rest. It's about being smart with your resources and energy, choosing your battles.
Exactly. And this applies to other things in business too, like negotiations. Instead of getting stuck on every little detail, the 80-20 principle says find those key points, the 20% that will have the biggest effect on the outcome.
Okay, that makes sense. Especially in tough negotiations where things can get heated, it's crucial to stay focused on what really matters.
Absolutely. It also applies to marketing. Instead of trying to reach every single person, businesses can focus on finding their most valuable customers, the 20% who bring in 80% of the business.
Oh, like that story in the book about Nicholas Bearson, the real estate broker?
Yes.
He makes most of his income from repeat customers. Shows how focusing on that loyal 20% can really pay off.
It's a great example of the 80-20 principle in action, and it brings us to a broader idea. Koch calls it 80-20 thinking. It's realizing that not all inputs are equal, even in our personal lives.
Okay, so work, business. But what about things like relationships and happiness? I mean, you can't just cut off 80% of your friends.
Of course not. But the principle still applies. We might not have done a formal analysis, but we all know which friendships bring us joy and meaning, which ones really enrich our lives.
So it's not about cutting people out. It's about recognizing those relationships that matter.
And nurturing them.
Exactly. And it goes beyond friendships. Think about your hobbies, the things you do. Which ones really contribute to your happiness and well-being? Do you spend a lot of time on things that drain your energy and bring you little fulfillment?
Wow, that's a good question. I think we all have those things. We do them out of habit, obligation. But maybe it's time to rethink how we use our time.
That's the beauty of the 80-20 principle. It encourages us to step back, analyze our lives, make deliberate choices about where we put our time and energy. It's not about some perfect balance. It's about recognizing the imbalance in life and using it to our advantage.
I'm seeing how this all connects. It's about working smarter, not harder, focusing on what truly matters, letting go of the rest. But how do we actually put this into practice? Understanding the concept is one thing, actually using it is another. That's a great point, and that's what we'll explore next. Koch talks about some really interesting concepts, like time revolution and 80-20 time management. They can help us change how we think about time and productivity.
You know, it's amazing how once you start thinking about this 80-20 idea, you start to see these imbalances everywhere. Like it's been hidden in plain sight this whole time.
It really is a shift in perspective, and Koch calls for a complete time revolution. It's not about cramming even more into our schedule. It's about fundamentally changing how we think about time management.
Time revolution. Okay, I'm listening. What does that actually mean? Are we throwing out our calendars and sundials?
Not exactly. It's more about understanding that traditional time management, it often focuses on doing more, being as efficient as possible. But The 80-20 approach, it flips that on its head.
I like where this is going.
It's about finding that crucial 20%, the tasks that give you 80% of the results, and making those your top priority.
So it's a more focused approach to productivity. Instead of just scattering our energy everywhere, we zero in on the areas that will have the biggest impact.
Exactly. Koch tells this great story about a consulting firm. They realized they were spread way too thin, trying to address every single client issue. They changed their strategy. They started focusing on a smaller number of issues, the ones that would make the biggest difference for their clients.
Interesting. And what happened? Did their clients get upset because they weren't getting as much attention?
Actually, the opposite happened. They found that by focusing on those vital few issues, they got better results for their clients, which led to more success for the firm as a whole.
So they were doing less overall, but the work they did do had a bigger impact.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how counterintuitive this principle can be. We're trained to think that more is always better, but sometimes doing less but doing it strategically and with intention can lead to much better results.
Makes you rethink the whole work smarter, not harder idea.
Absolutely. And this connects back to our quality of life, our happiness.
Right. What's the point of all this productivity if we're not happy?
That's where Koch's insights get really deep. He challenges us to think about what makes us happy, but also what makes us unhappy. So often we get trapped in routines, jobs, relationships that drain us.
Going through the motions, not really stopping to ask if this is what we really want.
He's not saying make huge changes overnight, like quit your job tomorrow, but it's about making conscious choices, gradually shifting your focus toward the things that truly fulfill you.
So spending less time on things that don't bring us joy and more time on things that do, whether that's being with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply taking time for ourselves.
Yes, it's about aligning your actions with your values.
I'm really starting to see how this all ties together. It's not about doing it all, it's about doing the right things.
And the great thing is, this principle can be applied to so many parts of our lives, our careers, our relationships, our personal growth.
So for everyone listening, here's something to think about. Now that you know about the 80-20 principle, what's one change you can make this week to put it into practice in your life?
It doesn't have to be something huge. Maybe it's just identifying and eliminating one time-wasting task at work. Or maybe it's something bigger, like taking a look at a relationship. It's not working for you anymore. The important thing is to start somewhere. Take that first step and see where it leads. You might be surprised at the difference even small changes can make.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the 80-20 principle. I hope it's giving you some new insights and some tools to unlock its potential. Thanks for joining us.